Now, you guys know that I generally try to steer clear of political topics, but every now and then we have an intersection of politics and law enforcement that's worth exploring. And who knows, maybe eventually I will dip my toes into the world of political commentary, and I have faith that you all are capable of separating the personal opinions I express on this channel from the content that I create for ATA. And really the reason I made this channel in the first place was so that I could express some of my own principles and ideas and create more authentic and personal content. Anyway, we'll talk about that in another video. I'm getting on a tangent here because today's episode doesn't really involve me expressing my political opinion. It's about a different influencer expressing their own political opinion through the content they make for their channel. I'm sure many of you know who Caitlin Bennett is, but for those of you who don't, I'll give you a quick refresher. She's a conservative political commentator who makes street interview videos for her YouTube channel called Liberty Hangout. She first gained widespread attention in 2018 for posing for her graduation photos with an AR-10 rifle on Kent State University's campus. And she has been a prominent open carry advocate and conservative influencer ever since. Like I said, I'm not going to be dissecting Caitlin's political opinions or anything in this video, but she happened to be involved in a police interaction recently that I think is worth taking a look at. At around noon on June 21st, Caitlin went to a local farmer's market that was being held at the downtown pavilion on Lakeview Avenue in Winter Garden, Florida. She was there with the intention of filming a man on the street style YouTube video where she interviews members of the public about their political beliefs. She had been filming for about an hour without any issues before Officer Velasquez of the Winter Garden Police Department arrived on the scene.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Nice to
How
meet
are
Louis.
you? Hi. Okay, I'll shake your hand.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Excellent, doing well. The farmers market is a private event.
Okay.
So
who's it hosted by?
The city of Winter Garden.
Okay, so the city of Winter Garden.
Yes, they do.
Is it a private event? Because I didn't have to have a ticket to come in.
Correct. Yeah. You don't have to have permission to do that. So what they want you to do, if you can do it outside that area right there, that's fine.
I don't have to. So I have the First Amendment right to be in public. So the city of Winter Garden has a permit just to hold this event and allow vendors to set up their booths. We went through this in Lakeland, and actually they had to backtrack with their city attorney and retrain their entire police department because they tried to trespass me from a public farmer's market.
I'm not trespassing you.
Okay, great. Then we'll continue our interviews.
I'm not trespassing you. I'm just asking you kindly if you can do it right outside their area. That would be awesome.
No. I'm not going to do that because I have every right to be here, but I appreciate you kindly asking me. I'm going to respectfully say no. I'm not going to do that because I have every right to be here. Okay. It's not private property. It's not a private event. It's open to the public and it's hosted by a city entity.
I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about it in just a second.
Sure.
Let me go ahead and tackle this now because it comes up a lot in this video. The officer makes the argument that it is a private event because the city permitted the event to a third party. He's basically implying that this is no longer a traditional public forum because it has been rented for private use by a third party. The problem is that argument kind of falls apart when you just look at the practical nuance of the situation. At this event, there were no barriers for entry and literally anyone could come and go as they please. The street was still open to the public just like it normally would be. The only real restriction that was being enforced was not allowing traffic to flow through the area. Typically, if a government issues a permit for a third-party event, then that third party will have some discretion about who is allowed to participate. That's usually done through requiring a ticket to attend the event, cordoning off the area with clear demarcations, or some other means of creating legitimate exclusivity. But that's not what this event was. Getting a permit for an event doesn't automatically qualify the event as private in terms of First Amendment protected activity. If the event takes place in public and members of the public are allowed to freely enter and leave with no one determining who is allowed in the event, then the forum analysis doesn't change because the forum itself hasn't changed. It would still likely be a traditional public forum. The reason for this is because permits have been used in the past as a means to chill free speech. In the 1941 Supreme Court case of Cox versus New Hampshire, the court upheld the government's right to require permits for parades and gatherings, but only as long as that control doesn't deny or unwarrantedly abridge the public's right to assemble and speak. In other words, the government can regulate how its space is used, but it can't use a permit to strip away First Amendment protections in places like streets or parks. As long long as the public is allowed to come and go freely and there are no barriers or screening, then there's a strong argument to be made that the space still remains a traditional public forum and the right to engage in expressive conduct still applies.
Hi, how are you? Are you Dana?
Yeah, I am.
Hi, Dana. Nice to meet you. How are you?
Did you get permission from the Florida Film Association to be here?
Yeah, so I'm not filming for a movie, and I'm not filming for a commercialized thing like that. We don't have a camera crew with us. We have no boom mics, and it's just a YouTube video, which is within my rights to be here and do this.
Okay. Excuse me.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Okay. I am recording, and so I am going to get what you're saying to me.
I just don't want that in.
Sure, so we'll leave it right here.
I'm just asking if you have permission. Usually we go through the steps of the Florida Film Commission, sends an email to City Hall, and then City Hall lets us know if they're permitting filming of the market. That's all.
Yeah. So I don't need permission to film because I am in a public space owned by the government. And this is an event open to the public. You guys have a permit to hold these vendors here and allow these vendors to be here, but that's it. And so we went through this in Lakeland. I'm not sure if you're privy to that. So you could go to my YouTube channel, Liberty Hangout, and type in Democrats tried to ban me from the Lakeland downtown farmers market. And then you can see the subsequent video where my lawyer got involved. The police had to be retrained. And I actually did have to be here.
This is not necessary.
Well, this isn't necessary. I just want to be left alone and be able to talk to people.
Do you have a business card?
Nope.
Okay. Well, then go have that.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
So here, the supposed owner of the event tells Caitlin that she's allowed to be there and continue filming. The owner asks Caitlin if she got permission from the Florida Film Commission to be there. I'm assuming she meant the Orlando Film Commission. And Caitlin tells her that she does not require a permit because she is not filming a movie and it is only her and a cameraman with a handheld camera. Under Orange County's video permitting ordinance, a permit is generally required for any commercial video production that uses county-owned streets, sidewalks, parks, or other facilities. But the ordinance includes a critical carve-out. It states that the term motion photography does not include any news feature, or documentary production. That exemption is pretty categorical. It's saying that if the production qualifies as news or documentary, it is not subject to the permitting requirement at all. Now, although Caitlin's content is monetized and distributed through a branded YouTube channel, it is centered around political commentary and public discourse. While her videos don't follow a conventional documentary format, they are plainly focused on public issues and civil debate. Courts have consistently held that the First Amendment does not distinguish between traditional media organizations and independent speakers. The fact that a speaker is monetized or unaffiliated with a formal news outlet does not strip them of constitutional protections or statutory exemption. In the New York Times Co. versus Sullivan, the Supreme Court emphasized that paid publications or any other commercial motives don't immediately eliminate a speaker's First Amendment protections. Also, the Orange County permitting ordinance doesn't clearly define news or documentary or impose a criteria based on organizational affiliations or the intent to profit. Considering the ambiguity of this language, courts would likely interpret the exemption broadly to avoid chilling free speech, especially in a traditional public forum. So in that context, Caitlin would have a strong argument that her work qualifies under the statute's exemption and that no permit was legally required. But with that said, even if her filming was deemed commercial and subject to permitting, her conduct still would not fall outside of the protections of the First Amendment entirely. Commercial speech is subject to greater regulatory leeway, but it is still protected. In the case of Central Hudson Gas versus Public Service Commission, the court established that any restriction on commercial speech must directly advance a substantial government interest and be no more extensive than absolutely necessary. If a permitting scheme is vague or discriminatorily applied or enforced only when the content is politically disfavored, it becomes constitutionally suspect. even when it's regulating commercial conduct. So although Caitlin's content is monetized and structured for public engagement, it likely qualifies for the statutory exemption as a form of news or documentary under Orange County's ordinance. And even if it didn't, any regulation of her filming would still need to comply with First Amendment protections that prevent viewpoint discrimination and overbroad or vague permitting requirements.
So we're gonna ask you guys to leave the market due to the videotaping and interviewing our customers.
Sure.
We've asked you nicely to leave.
So what policy or city code am I breaking?
I'm asking you once again to please leave our market area.
So what policy or city code am I breaking?
Ma'am, I'm going to ask one more time and then I'm not asking.
What'll
Please
happen if I don't leave? What's going to happen if I don't leave?
So basically the way it is right now is this is private property for the farmers market.
Okay.
They don't want you guys on property.
Okay.
You're welcome to step off of property, which is anything outside of the cordoned off area, but that's fine. So at this time, you guys are being trespassed, okay?
So we just went through this in Lakeland, downtown Lakeland, for their farmers market. Who owns this street?
This street?
Yeah.
This will be owned by the city.
So this is hold on, Justin, I've got it.
It's owned by the city, but right now it's being rented out as a private event.
Yeah, so this isn't a private event. It's an event open to the public, and the permit that is hosted here is just to have the market. And this is a traditional public forum in the highest extent, and I have every right to be
that's
here.
Your take on it?
That's the law.
Okay.
About an hour after being given explicit permission to continue filming by the owner of the event, in the presence of the officers on the scene, the officers approach her again with a member of the event staff and issue her a verbal trespass warning. They explicitly state that she is being trespassed because she is recording and violating the rules of the farmers market, and Caitlin explains to the officers that the event is being held in a traditional public forum and she can't be trespassed for exercising her First Amendment rights. But of course, she's met with the age-old "we don't give a fuck about the Constitution" attitude and threatened with arrest if she doesn't leave. Now, from a constitutional standpoint, this raises some serious red flags. Like we talked about earlier, a permit to hold an event doesn't give the city or a private organizer blanket authority to override the First Amendment. That means that any restrictions on speech have to follow pretty strict legal standards. A good example of this is the Watchtower v. Stratton case. In this case, the Supreme Court struck down a permitting requirement for door-to-door advocacy. That case was about Jehovah's Witnesses coming and knocking on your door and leaving pamphlets behind. But there are a lot of parallels with what Caitlin was doing because her content is highly political in nature, which is also a form of advocacy. Now, you add the advocacy aspect with the public forum, the ordinance exception, the fact that she had permission from the event director, and it starts to weigh very heavily in Caitlin's favor that her actions would be deemed constitutionally protected, regardless of whether or not they're monetized. Public forum or not, neither government employees, private contractors, or members of law enforcement can use trespassing laws as a backdoor to suppress speech, especially when that speech is peaceful, political, and non-disruptive.
That's your take on it?
Yeah.
But right now we're going to ask you to leave, okay?
And what if I don't?
Then you will go to jail.
I'm going to go to jail if I don't leave the farmers market.
Correct, yes.
You guys are going to get
your options to move outside of here or go over here on Plant Street. You can talk to people on Plant Street. We don't care.
So what would you be arresting me for?
For trespass after warning, because you're being asked to leave the private event right now.
This isn't private. You guys are wrong.
Okay,
this
we're
is
not
not
gonna
a
argue
private
about that.
event.
We're not going to argue about that. So it's going to be your choice. You can either leave or you can go to jail. That's your choices right now.
Okay. How long would I be in jail for?
You'll have a bond and you'll be able to bond out.
This is happening once again. We just went through this.
They'll hear from our lawyers, and you guys risk losing qualified immunity. That's up to you if you want to do that.
Yeah. So I'm not going to get arrested because I have children at home, but you guys know this is not a private event.
Go down here to Plant Street and just sit there at the corner, and you can talk to anybody that you want outside of those black barriers.
So what law or city code am I breaking?
Right now, you're violating the events rules and regulations is what you're doing.
Okay. So that's not that's not true. Their role.
According to them, you are. Okay.
Who is he? Who are you?
He's event staff.
With who? Like, what's your name? That you're wanting me to be trespassed?
I'm asking you to leave once again.
Are you asking them to trespass me?
Yes, if you don't leave, that would be
And
the next
who are
step.
you? What's your name?
I work for event staff.
Okay. That's the name of the company, Event Staff?
Yes. Yes.
The name of the company is just Event Staff.
Okay, we're perpetuating this even longer. why don't we just get on with it?
You guys are, so I am going to leave, but you guys are asking me, you're threatening me with arrest if I don't leave a public event. Yeah, he said if I don't leave, I'm going to be arrested.
Because you're being trespassed from the city of Winter Garden.
Are you going to file that in court?
We will, yes.
Okay, please do that. Yeah, could you need my information to officially trespass me?
You need to be trespassed first, or you need to.
You are trespassing me.
Well, you are trespassed.
Okay, so if I get an official trespass warning, how do I obtain one of those?
Can I ask you your license?
Yes. I want you.
Dispatch Romeo 17.
If you're threatening to trespass me.
By number.
Does that entail being arrested if you just officially trespass me?
No, it does not. You have to be in handcuffs.
Right now, you are officially trespassed.
So officially trespass. So that's a warning. Officially trespassing me means you have to file it.
So you're warned if you come back on the property that you can go to jail. Okay. If you refuse to leave, you can go to jail. That's what it is right now. So you're officially.
So I'm going to leave, but he has my ID, so I'm going to deal with him right now.
Get your ID back. You have to leave the property.
Okay. So I'm officially trespassed. You're going to file this in court.
We're not going to file it in this course, but if you do come back, then we will file it in court or you'll go to jail. Okay.
But there's no official trespass.
You are officially trespassed right now.
This is a warning. This is an official trespass.
You are officially trespassed from here. If you return, because what happens, you have to be trespassed. Okay. If you refuse to leave, then if you come back, you can go to jail. Or if you refuse to leave, you can go to jail.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to leave because I have children and they.
Find out this gentleman's name.
Yeah. What is your name?
Event staff.
That's not your name. What is your name?
Unfortunately.
We'll find out. We'll find out your name.
Making our way off the property, okay?
Okay, so I think it's really upsetting that this is happening once again. You guys are gonna have to hear from my lawyer once again. So yeah, we'll go this way.
It's not that hard to stand up for the First Amendment. This
is a traditional public forum. You guys are kicking out. So why am I being asked to leave?
Oh Lord.
We're done asking questions. You didn't leave.
You're an officer who's threatening me with arrest. You can't answer my question?
I answered all the questions.
Why am I being asked to leave?
Public property.
Public property.
I'll explain that to you.
Is it because of who I am, or is it because
event. It's not.
It is not. It's an event open to the public. Keep walking back.
To 2 p.m., which is the same thing I told you at the beginning when I spoke to you.
Literally walking on a public street.
Yeah.
Public sidewalk over here. Public park right here.
I went into a public restroom earlier. So if I come back next Saturday, you guys are going to arrest me?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. On what grounds?
Trespass after warning.
Trespass from a public event in public property. And then just to reiterate.
And it's run by the city government.
Yeah, the city government holds this a permit, and the permit does not make this private property. We're going this way. This is not the video that I wanted to have to make today. We went to the Winter Garden farmers market, and as you can see, the police are threatening me with arrest once again, and I know my rights. I am in a traditional public forum. This is not a private event that they keep claiming it's private property, just like the Lakeland Police Department did, who had to be retrained. And so I guess we're gonna have to go through this again. This was not my intention. This is not what I wanted, but I'm going to stand up for myself and the First Amendment in public spaces to have conversations, even if people don't like what they're about.
The Winter Garden officers escorted Caitlin off the property and into a nearby parking garage, and she was told that she's not allowed to return to the farmer's market. Shortly after this incident, Caitlin went to the Winter Garden Police Department to file a complaint against the officers, but was told that she would have to speak to a lieutenant the following Monday. She questioned the officer about the legality of her trespass, but he basically just reiterated the same information as the other officers that were on the scene. 3 days later, the city rescinded the trespass and issued a public statement saying that, quote, department staff will be provided guidance to prevent further incidents of this nature. It's almost as if exactly what Caitlin was trying to tell the officers would happen actually happened. What a surprise, right? It's almost like Caitlin could predict the future using basic constitutional knowledge and common sense. Now, I know some of you out there probably have some qualms with Caitlin because of her political beliefs, but I hope you can set that bias aside for a moment and just appreciate the fact that she stood up for her right to free expression and took the extra step of seeking accountability. And she did this twice, once here and once in Lakeland, Florida. So regardless of what you think of her political opinion, she's proven that she's willing to go the extra mile and ensure that that her rights are respected. And that deserves a hell yeah, no matter what political bullshit you believe in. Anyway, that's all I got for you today, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to highlight this story because I thought it posed some pretty interesting questions about public forums, and Caitlin did a fantastic job of navigating this encounter. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and don't forget to pick up your copy of the Civilian Rights Hand Guide in the links below if you're interested. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
Anything else I can do for you guys? Any other rights of mine you want to violate?
Not at this time.
Not at this time, but just this one, just the first one.